Welcome back to my channel, and today we'll be talking about tipping culture and literally how tipping has basically like shaped America basically. Like number one, did you know that in other countries it's like literally rude to tip them because it's like basically a way of telling them in their culture that your job doesn't pay you enough. But like in America, tipping is like a necessity because apparently, like for me, when I was looking for jobs and stuff like that, and I was looking for like server jobs and I was looking for waitress jobs and all that stuff and hostess jobs and all that stuff, they were basically having a thing in where like they just paid like very little. Like I remember looking at one job and then they were like paying you like $6.38, and I was like shocked because it's like these people have to like be on their have to like carry a lot of stuff, and they have to carry a lot of pounds and stuff, and they have to be on their feet for like 8 hours at a time, and they have to crawl through spaces and doing all of that. I was like, really? $6.38 an hour? And then they were like, I think some of them like allowed tipping, and then some of them didn't allow tipping, which is kind of weird because they don't really get paid that much. And I'm not really sure about that, but I remember seeing something like that. Not entirely sure. And then on top of the fact of like in America, there's like a very big tipping culture where they do expect you to tip because like in some of those jobs and stuff like that, they don't pay that well. So it's kind of like, oh, can you tip? But it really depends on the person because some people won't tip just because like they don't want to tip, and then they have like the idea of like, oh, that's your job, you have to like make enough money for your job, or they have the idea of like, oh, you should have chose a better paying job. But it's kind of like if this person did choose like those other jobs, whatever, and they didn't have that job, then you would have customer service shortages, and y'all would be like, oh, they don't have enough people. But it's like they don't have enough people because like they want to be able to make enough to sustain themselves and have like a decent lifestyle. They can't do that if they're working these jobs that pay like $5 an hour and all that stuff. And then on top of that, what was I gonna say again? Yeah, and on top of that, some people have that, or some people just don't want to tip, or they don't have it, or whatever. And then there's some people who do understand the struggle of like tipping and all that stuff, so they do tip because they remember they were like in a job that was like low paying, and they know how it feels to like have no tips or like a little bit of tips, or deal with people who are like bad tippers. Personally, I feel like it depends if I'll tip or not, because sometimes I'm not feeling like tipping, or sometimes I do want to tip. It also depends on the person and their like skills as like a waitress, waiter, host, hostess, because like if a person does a bad job or whatever, or a good job, the person might tip or they might not tip. It really depends on the person and the individual. And there's also like good tippers and like bad tippers. And I just feel like as tipping as a whole, I feel like it would be better if like they just pay the people what they're worth and pay them enough to like have a good lifestyle and give them like all those like benefits that a job should have. Because at the end of the day, if like these people don't come to work and they don't do those shortages, and they have like shortages and stuff like that, it's gonna go bad because then it's gonna like mess around with everybody else in their life. Because like people don't realize that when people don't like go to work or whatever, or don't do like certain jobs, it affects you because since they're not getting like the jobs or whatever, then certain things might not like come to like fruition. I don't know how to explain that. For example, if there's like a restaurant and there's like no workers, then the restaurant closes, and then there might not be enough like no more restaurants around and stuff like that. Like I don't know how to explain it, but it's like a thing in where like is I just basically believe that they should just pay people enough so they don't have to beg for tips, because again, like I said, in other countries they see it as rude if you tip them, especially in like European. Like I've always heard that in Asian countries and like European countries, if you tip them, they're gonna like tell you to like give you back. They're gonna like give you back the money, be like, no tip, leave me alone. Basically, because they don't want to be tipped because they get paid enough, and they see it as basically an insult, which is kind of weird because like in America, when you order food or whatever, they basically see it as like uh they basically see it as a thing of like sorry, my brain. They like when you tip in America, they basically see it as like a godsend, and they're like smiling because they realize that their job really does not pay them enough, but someone has to do it. So that's another thing with tipping culture is that I feel like when it comes to like these jobs or whatever, if no one is fulfilling these jobs, then these businesses get shut down. And when these businesses get shut down, then it affects you because you're probably gonna have to like, find a way to like do these things and whatever because there's no one that wants to take these jobs because number one, the people that go to these jobs like and deal with these employees. They don't have any respect. They don't have any manners. And on top of that, you're working super hard, working these long shifts. You're on your feet. You're bending. You're bending. You're picking up stuff. You're on your feet all the time. You're tired because again, you have to wake up early and all that stuff. And then you have to deal with these people. And on top of that, your job doesn't pay well, so you kind of have to like rely on tips. And if there's the money's not coming in, people aren't working, then what's gonna happen is that there are gonna be people that not people, but like there's gonna be a situation where people are gonna have to find out how to do these things for themselves. Like for example, when it comes to like these restaurants and stuff like that, if stuff like that keeps on happening, then they're gonna have to like find a way to get like their own food basically. Like people are basically probably gonna have to eat at home more and find a way to like cook recipes because what else are you supposed to do in that type of situation? Maybe even the same thing for like supermarkets too. If that ever happens, they're probably gonna have to find a way to like farm and stuff. I know that's not supposed to be funny, but I just thought about that.